Right. So in this week, first topic we have to cover is about what is it? El Nino. El Nino, La Nina, and recent global temperatures. So related some news was by US NOAA, that is National Ocean and Atmospheric Administration. So already El Nino, La Nina we have covered in the class. Climate. What is El Nino? Warming of the sea surface temperature. La Nina is what? Cooling of the sea surface temperature. So why was news? So between 23 to 25 overall, by looking at the Earth's temperature, what we have witnessed, it has increased compared to which years? Earlier years. Okay, overall temperature is higher. Rise has exceeded the long-term warming trend. We know that because of continuous greenhouse gas emission. Anyway, overall, what is happening to the Earth's temperature? It is continuously rising. So it is rising at a particular trend with a particular rate as such. But in this year, what we have seen, the rise is much more higher, okay, than the average rate or general trend. What is the reason behind this? So this is what was investigated by scientists, and the result was published in the Nature journal, that is Geoscience journal. Okay, not important. What they have shown, the reason of rise is twofold. One, at the global scale, what we are witnessing? Shift from which to which condition? La Nina to El Nino like condition. La Nina means Earth's surface will become cooler. El Nino means it will become warmer. So when it becomes warmer, obviously what would happen? Temperature would spike. So we are looking at the trend where the La Nina is changing to El Nino. That is one reason behind the temperature increase. Second is increase in the Earth's energy imbalance as such. Okay, that means the atmosphere of the Earth, as continuously more and more greenhouse gases are being emitted, they are trapping more amount of energy, more amount of heat. So if more amount of heat is trapped, what will happen? Temperature would increase, right? So sharp spike that we have seen is because of El Nino and because of the greenhouse gas emission. Now again same thing, basically if you revise the concept, what is El Nino? We know that along the South American coast, in the equatorial Pacific, what we see there? Natural warming as such. Okay, so natural warming of equatorial Pacific Ocean. Because of this, global weather pattern is also affected. We have seen the effect on the weather of India also, monsoon of India. What happens to monsoon if El Nino is taking place? Right, low amount of rainfall. On the other hand, La Nina is exact reverse condition. Instead of warming, what we witness? Cooling of the surface. Cooling means what will happen to the monsoon of India? Amount of rainfall will be higher as such. Okay, so already relation we have covered in class, so same thing we have here. Now this also I told you that unusual phenomena is seen between year 2020 to 2023 because El Nino and La Nina, they last for 1 year only. But in this time frame, how long did they last? Continuously for 3 years. Okay, and when you have continuous 3 years of La Nina, what is the term we call it as, or we use for triple dip? Triple means 3 years continuously. So triple dip La Nina event we saw between 2020 2023, and because of this, in between we never had any kind of El Nino episodes. So continuously water was colder, and suddenly when La Nina switched to El Nino, what happened? Sudden warming has been seen here. So cooler ocean surface trapped more and more heat, reduced heat emission into space, and build up energy imbalance as such, right? So that's the point. Now Earth's energy imbalance, if you try to understand about it, what is energy imbalance? Heat budget is a concept we have studied. What is heat budget? We have discussed that heat budget of Earth is zero. How much energy it is receiving from the sun, same amount of energy it is sending back in the space as such. So net energy that Earth's surface receive is or contain is zero. That means temperature of Earth's surface would remain constant. Okay, at around 15-60 degrees Celsius, we have covered it. If that value is disturbed, we can say Earth is in which state? The state of energy imbalance as such. Now why it happens? Simple, because the heat being trapped by the Earth is now more. Earth atmosphere is more. That is why temperature is rising. 75% of this imbalance can be contributed to which factor? Anthropogenic factor. That is not natural warming. What is the major factor? Human. What factors? Same. Emission of what? Greenhouse gases. More and more greenhouse gases we are emitting on the account of development, economic growth, all. What they are doing? Think like this. This is the surface of Earth. Earth surface, I told you, sends energy, loses energy in the form of long wavelength terrestrial radiation, and this energy is lost where? In the outer space. If in the atmosphere, if the concentration of GHG gases are more, what will happen? This loss would reduce. Where the energy will be contained or trapped? In the atmosphere itself. This atmospheric heating will further cause heating of the surface also. That's why in the polar areas, what do you see? As the global warming occurs, atmospheric temperature rises, they transfer heat to the ice sheets, glacier. What happened because of it? Melting of glaciers that we observe. So that is the reason. Second, already I have discussed what is the other reason behind the warming. La Nina to El Nino, same point. Breakdown again, the percentage wise breakdown, it is given, other factors and all that. But overall, what is the point we have to keep in mind? 75% of warming is human factor induced. 25% of warming can be attributed to natural factors. Okay, so that's how UPSC can frame question in the examination prelims. That majority of warming is attributed to natural factor, a minor is attributed to human factor. That would be incorrect statement. Right? Role of global warming, same thing. Rising greenhouse gas intensity, natural cycle, increasing ocean heat alters ENSO pattern. NOAA has updated. Now, why we are talking about it? Everything we already know. El Nino, La Nina, greenhouse gas emission, triple dip La Nina. All we have covered in the classes itself. Now, why we are talking about it? Because the United States National Ocean and Atmospheric Administration, this organization, it has updated the classification. Think about it like this. Suppose this is the normal temperature of the ocean. Suppose this normal temperature we used to consider as 25 degrees Celsius. If in a particular year, temperature of ocean becomes 29 degrees Celsius, what we can say? This is which year? El Nino years. If instead of 25, temperature becomes 21 degrees Celsius, what we can say? La Nina years, right? What is the reference temperature for us to declare El Nino and La Nina? We are imagining it, 25 degrees Celsius. But what is going on with passage of time? Overall temperature of sea is anyway rising. So earlier what used to be normal is 25. Nowadays it is not 25 anymore. Normal temperature itself has become how much? Suppose 26, 27 degrees Celsius. So now you cannot say in 29 we have El Nino. You have to also update it. If at 25 you are declaring 29 to be El Nino, at 27 what will you declare? 31. Similarly, at 23 what you will declare? La Nina. So that is what NOAA has done. Okay, because of continuous warming, normal temperature has raised. So it has changed the classification criteria for what? Both El Nino and La Nina, because the reference value, base value itself is changing as such. And that is why it was in news. Now, if we talk about the warming of the oceans, what it may cause? More La Nina classification. What it will cause? Fewer El Nino events meeting threshold. Okay, so that's why we have to change it. Otherwise, every year we can declare it like El Nino years as such. Okay, temperature will be rising by very few degrees. So that needs to change. Scientific significance and conclusion, if you understand, what is the purpose of this study? Earlier, we were not able to understand why recently temperature spike has been observed. Now we have a clear idea. Again, what is the reason behind this temperature spike? What is the reason? First, conversion from what? La Nina to El Nino. Second is what? Human factor, GHG emission, that we have concluded based on data. Not necessarily sudden acceleration of warming. Okay, because many scientists were claiming that this rapid warming of the surface, rapid increase of this temperature can be attributed to rapid warming of Earth. That is not the case. Warming of global warming that we talk about, it is still going at the same rate as such. A spike is because of this additional factor. Combination of natural cycle plus human influence we have here, both is contributing, highlights what? Vulnerability of global climate system. Okay, and reinforces urgency of how we can tackle this issue, how we can reduce the extent of warming. We have to reduce the emission of what? Greenhouse gases. Okay, the fossil fuel burning. Okay, whatever sources that we have, that is the only way how we will be able to do so. What are the some steps you can take to reduce this emission? How can you reduce the emission? Okay, rather than depending on fossil fuel, coal, oil, natural gas, how we can produce electricity? by the renewable sources. Okay, so solar energy, wind energy, if you increase the share of these, we can say that yes, we have been able to reduce the emission. What about afforestation? If you plant more forest, can we control global warming? Right? Why? Because forest act as a carbon sink. So more CO2 they will be able to absorb. So less CO2 in the atmosphere, less trapping of heat, lower the temperature. Okay, so afforestation is one way. Switching to renewable energy is the other way. What else? Shift. CFC, that is for ozone depletion largely. Okay, so what else? Vehicles are other source of pollutant. Okay, nitrogen oxides, those are also very potent greenhouse gas. So switching from diesel petrol vehicle to which vehicle? Electrical vehicle, EVs and all that. Okay, so switch to EVs. So these are some steps we can take, okay, to reduce the emission intensity. That is only way how we will be able to control, okay, the global warming. So that was the first. Second topic is a recent exercise that India has carried out, what it is called as Dharma Guardian. Okay, so exercise Dharma Guardian. Now see, from prelims perspective, we discuss many things, but what do you have to focus here? It's not that one exercise in entire year is being conducted. Entire year, if you look at the newspaper or this current affairs, you'll have more than 15-20 exercises. So what do you have to focus there? How questions are being framed? First is which country we have carried out this exercise with. Okay, India carries out joint exercise with many countries. So this particular exercise, Dharma Guardian, first thing you should keep in mind, which country we are participating with. Second, when you talk about exercise in military, it can be of three types: air exercises, naval exercises, and land-based. That means army-led exercises. So that you have to keep in mind, whether it is the air force, whether it is the naval forces, or whether it is the army which is involved here. That is the two things we can keep in mind. And then if you want to add something more, location, okay, from geography perspective you can also add where, okay, which place was this exercise carried out. So these are three most. Other, if you can remember, it is good. Joint military exercise Dharma Guardian 2026. Now first thing, it is which edition? 7th edition. Okay, not for the first time we have carried out this exercise. So India and Japan, two countries are involved here, and the joint military exercise. So India, Japan, joint military exercise. Now it is clear which wing of military is involved? Indian Army. That means which kind of exercise it is? Land-based exercise. So Indian Army. And from Japan, which forces are involved? SDF. Okay, that is our name given to the Japanese military. They do not call Japanese Army, Japanese Navy. Okay, like this, they give SDF, Self-Defense Force. The terminology changed after World War II, because you know that up to World War II, Japan was an imperialist country. Okay, they're very aggressive. Okay, they want to have similar kind of colonizing tendencies as the Western countries had. But after World War II, what they changed? They changed their entire constitution, and they said that we will only use force not to attack someone, not to capture land masses from other countries, but only for what purpose? Self-defense. Okay, if some country attack us, then only we will respond militarily. Otherwise, we will not have any aggressive posturing, aggressive stance. That's why very important. Self-defense force. Clearly, it reflects the ideology of Japanese military, Japanese government. So, Indian Army, Japan Ground, Self-Defense Force. Venue is where? In the Uttarakhand. Okay, Chowbatiya is the name of place. That is where exercise has been conducted. Second, which kind of exercise? Sometime exercise is biennial, sometime it is annual. Biennial exercise means once every 2 years it is conducted. Annual means once every year, right? Sometime, so basically we have annual and biennial. Apart from that, if there is a more time gap, it is simply called as infrequent exercise, okay, or sometimes, yeah, they call it as. So annual bilateral defense engagement focused on, what is the focus of joint exercises? In last class also I told you, most of exercises, this element is a common element. What is the purpose? Enhancing interoperability. What is interoperability? No, interoperability means both understand each other's culture. Which culture? Military culture. Okay, how they work. Both understand each other's systems, weapons. Okay, what they are doing. So in that case, what is the benefit? If militaries have enhanced interoperability, whenever they are conducting joint operations, it becomes easier to coordinate and cooperate. Each army understand, each countries understand how the other function, other countries and their army works as such, which systems they are using, which radars they are using and all that. So this is largely relevant for joint operation. So question is that why we are interested to have a joint operation? Is there any possibility of joint operation with Japan in the future? Okay. It's not only when the problem comes you find solution. You focus on solution before. You be ready for any kind of problems in the future. So we know that our common area of interest is Indian Ocean, as well as to some extent Japan has interest in Pacific Ocean also. Plus a common threat that looms large over both Japan and China is which country? Sorry, India and Japan is which country? China as such, right? Because China has lot of dispute with Japan also, like Senkaku Island you would have heard about, right? Diaoyu Island, China called it Diaoyu Island, Japan called it Senkaku Island. So China claims it is their territory, same as China claims the entire Arunachal Pradesh as such. So in the future, if China take a very aggressive stance, in that case we might have possibility to what? Cooperate, okay? And that is where interoperability can be very fruitful. So strengthening of military cooperation, same thing, enhancing combined operational capabilities. Both countries can join their forces together, right? And then they can tackle the threat as such. Third, conduct joint operations in which kind of environment? Semi-urban environment. So this can also be fruitful, not only to tackle China, but in case of fighting which kind of threat? Terrorism related threat. Yes, that's where the this importance comes. Indian Army, we know that Indian Army is divided into multiple regiment divisions and all. So in this exercise, which part of which regiment of Indian Army participated? Ladakh Scouts. Japan, which one? It is called as 32nd Infantry Regiment. Again, very minute detail, not relevant from examination perspective, not focus on so much the fact as such. So country is more than enough. Which countries and what? Now key tactical activities, what did they do when they carried out this exercise? They focused on establishment of temporary operating bases such. Okay, that was the first part. Second, they develop which kind of capabilities? Before you can neutralize and attack the enemy, you need to have very good understanding of intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance operation. Right? What it means? ISR, what is the significance or importance of ISR? Why would you need intelligence? Or what kind of intelligence would you need if suppose a war has broken out? Capability, right? That is one thing. What else? And that same capability. Basically, locations become very important, right? The bases where they are operating from, logistical hubs where they have kept their weapons, ammunitions and all that. Okay, imagine that enemy has a rocket launcher, right? So rocket launcher will only work if they have rockets. Rockets and all that, all people are carrying all the rockets together all the time. So they have some depot where they are keeping thousands of rockets. Okay, and from there they are supplying rocket and they are launching against the other country. If suppose you are India, Pakistan is continuously launching rocket toward you. One thing is that you keep on firing, okay, as a retaliation. Other step is what? You directly attack this depot itself. What will happen? You will destroy the capability of rocket launching. So that is where the role of ISR comes into existence. Surveillance, okay, reconnaissance. You understand the build up of the army, where they are building up, okay, where they are concentrating their forces and all that. So that's where it comes to picture. Third was mobile vehicle check post. That is again for terrorism perspective. If you're launching a terror operation, what is your main objective? You should not allow terrorists to enter into the population dense areas, okay, or major city area, urban areas. So for that, what do you need? One is permanent check post. You have already built up infrastructure and all that. Another is in the case of higher threat, you can put on mobile check post, okay, that you increase the layers of security. Same thing. What else? Cordon and search operation. Then we have the, which kind of operation? Heliborne. That is aerial operation. By helicopter, you are sending your guards, national security guard in case of India and all, to carry out launch attack. And then house intervention drills. If a terrorist have entered in some big hotels, for example, right? They have taken hostages. In that case, how we can carry out operation? What is your main objective? Intervene in the house. Okay, go inside, neutralize the terrorists, and whatever hostages are there, you have to ensure they are safely brought outside, okay, safely recovered. So these were the tactical activities, part of this exercise. Strategic sequence, again, yeah, first of all, if you look, it's not that only the exercise is conducted in India. This year exercise was conducted in Uttarakhand. But what is the general convention? Held alternately between India and Japan. So that means now you know in next year, where will the exercise conducted? In the Japan. Next year again in India. So that is the way. Same thing, enhances of interoperability, strengthen Indo-Pacific. I told you both Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean, defense partnership. Other exercises again from prelims perspective very important. Which exercise? JIMEX, Japan India Maritime Exercise. Which kind of exercise it is? Naval exercise. Okay. Then we have Veer Guardian. It is between Air Force of Japan and Air Force of India. Then what else do we have? Shinyu Matri. Which exercise again? Air Force. Okay, Air Force exercise. Then we have Sahyog Kaizen. You can see how the naming is being done here. One name is okay, Japanese, other name is Hindi. Okay, again here one name is Hindi, other name is Japanese. So Sahyog Kaizen. This is between which wing of the defense forces? Coast Guard. Okay, so keep in mind Coast Guard, ICG, Indian Coast Guard you have, and then Simbex. Simbex. No, this is Malabar. Simbex is Singapore. Operation Malabar, exercise Malabar. Malabar is exercise that is conducted by 4 countries. Which country? India, Japan, US and Australia. Okay, so again in the Indo-Pacific region, very, very relevant. That's I told you, that's how you have to keep these facts in mind. Question only will be asked in prelims from this kind of topic. Okay, it means they will not ask to describe the exercise and all. Okay, you can use them as a pointer. If you are international relations, you are writing about Indo-Japan relationship. So 1-2 point you can write here. That is shows, these exercises shows what kind of relationship? Evolving or enhancement of the bilateral defense relationship, military relationships. Okay, otherwise the questions are not there. Then third is related to again the INS Anjdeep, a new naval ship that Indian Navy has inducted. Which kind of ship it is? First of all, if you have attended the earlier current affairs classes, I told you that what is the general trend we are seeing in the Indian Navy or overall Indian defense sector? Indigenization. Earlier we were mostly dependent upon import. Whichever naval vessels we are acquiring from Russia earlier, United States, UK and all that. Now we are focused more on developing it within country itself. So that is other example of this. ASW means anti-submarine warfare. That is the main exercise, this objective of the ship. It can tackle the threat of submarine. It can tackle the threat of the enemy submarine. And which kind of area it can operate in? Shallow water means near the coast or far from coast? Near the coast. Okay, so by looking at this term itself, it is more than enough. Okay, whatever we discuss is bonus, right? What do you have to keep in mind about INS Anjdeep? Simple 3 things. What kind of ship? Indigenously developed. What is the main action? To participate in anti-submarine warfare. Where it can operate? Near the coast. Okay, in the shallow water as such. So near the coast, whatever vital infrastructures you have, industries, ports and all that, they can be protected by this ship. Okay, so that's the first thing. So strengthening India's coastal defense capabilities. So for that we have added it. Now few point, if you look, commissioned at where? Eastern Naval Command in Chennai. Okay, so Chennai Eastern Naval Command headquartered in which region? What is the headquarter of Eastern Naval Command? Visakhapatnam. 3 naval command you have: Western, Southern, Eastern. Western Naval Command of Indian Navy is headquartered in Mumbai. Southern Naval Command is headquartered in Cochin. And then Eastern Naval Command is headquartered in Visakhapatnam. So in the Eastern Naval Command, but at which port? Chennai port. Okay, it will protect Chennai port. Second, in this particular category, it is not the first ship. Which ship it is? Third ship. What is the name? Anjdeep. Right. So before we have commission, this also we have discussed in earlier class, current affair class. One was INS Androth. Okay, and one more was there from the same name, A itself. You can see the common theme. All the ships in this class is named by letter A. So Androth, foreign name, Arnala, Androth, Arnala and Anjdeep. These are the 3 ships under the ASW SWC project. Several shipbuilders we have in India, like Cochin Shipyard Limited you have, Madgaon Shipyard Limited you have. This ship is built by which company? Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers GRSE in which port? Kolkata port. Okay, so builder who has developed and built the ship. So answer would be Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers. Same thing, major step toward which kind of Bharat? Atmanirbhar. Okay, we are focused upon self-reliance in the critical sectors such as defense. Okay, and not only it help us in attaining the goal of Atmanirbharta, self-reliance, it also is important from perspective of export, because if you are building something domestically within India, you can export it to whichever country you want, right? If you are importing something, there is a lot of restrictions. You cannot export it to other countries and all that. Plus, why they will buy from you? They will buy from the main builder itself. So, not only it help us in self-reliance, but later on future, it also opens the door for earning by exporting defense equipments, defense vessels and all. Reflects transformation into which kind of navy? A builder's navy, not an importing navy. Okay, not such kind of navy which depends on other countries, but a navy that builds whatever it wants, okay, for several purposes. Primary role as said by navy, what they have termed this ship as? Dolphin hunter. Why dolphin hunter? It will not hunt and kill dolphin. Dolphin is a term that is used to refer to what kind of ship? Submarine. Okay. Now, in the recent time also you will see India has taken a lot of steps to ensure that we have enough capability of this grade. While we do not have a lot of threat from Pakistan, they do not have submarines, okay, such kind of submarines. What is the major threat? China. In the last couple of decades means since 2007 we can say, they have built up lot of submarines. Why they are building a lot of submarines? Because they want to increase their assertiveness in both Indian Ocean region as well as the Pacific Ocean as such. So, string of pearls policy you would have heard about. Okay, they are also trying to develop ports all around India. Okay, that can be used for dual purposes, military deployment purposes and all that. And they keep on moving submarines everywhere in the Indian Ocean. So, if they come very close to the coast or if they carry out attack, in that case they can be neutralized. Objective is same, detect, track and neutralize enemy submarines designated for shallow and littoral water as such, enhances coastal security and maritime deterrence. Yes, that is clearly understood from the earlier discussion as well. So, the threat is China, that's why such kind of ship is being built up. Indigenous weapons and capabilities. So, what are the major weapon capabilities this ship will have? So, first of all, on the hull, hull means the outer part of the ship basically. What it will have? Sonar. What is the full form of sonar? Sound navigation and ranging. Okay, what does sonar do? Suppose this is the sea level. Submarines are moving below the sea surface. Okay, so this is submarine, like this, something like this. Clear? So they are moving, and these are ships which are surface ships. So suppose this is the INS Anjadweep and other ships that you have here. How they can destroy submarine? Only if they know where submarine is located, if they can track it. One equipment used for tracking is sonar. So this equipment keeps on sending sound waves, right? The sound wave is sent here. Now if submarine is there, what will happen? Sound wave will not move anymore. It will be reflected. And again after reflection, what happens? It is sent back in the same direction. So it is captured by the sonar. So you will understand how far is submarine, at what depth is submarine, how close it is. So the first step of destruction is the tracking. So tracking is conducted by which equipment? Sonar, based simply on the reflection of sound waves. Okay, for aircraft similarly, what do you use? Radar. You send radio waves. What happens? Radio waves are moving in the atmosphere. If any aircraft is flying, it will get reflected by it. You will know that some object is there as such. So that is the object role played by sonar in the navy, or we can say in the ocean. Second, what it contains? Once you have detected, okay, that submarine is coming very close, even after giving warning and talking, communicating with them, they are not showing any scope of retreat. Okay, so it seems that they have some ill will. What do you have to do? You have to attack them. Or if there is already a fully declared war, okay, in that case, any enemy vessel is a genuine target as such, okay, as in the case of Iran. So, how will you target them? What will you launch? Torpedo. Torpedo can move inside the water and can destroy the submarines. So that's why we have torpedoes. Apart from that, what else do we have? Rocket launchers also. Coastal surveillance and limo operations can conduct. Not only that, the ship can also be used in the peacetime. What kind of operation it can conduct? If suppose some cyclones, tsunami, okay, have taken place, a lot of people are stranded here and there. So in that case also they can be, okay, provided assistance. So search and rescue operation, water jet propulsion system. How does this ship move? In engine, you have compressor. What does compressor do? First of all, it pulls the water from inside the sea and then it compresses it. After compressing, what it does? It propels it back. So works basically it is nothing but third law of Newton's third law. Okay, every action has equal opposite reaction. So you push the water back and water will push you front. That's how the ship moves. That is why we call it water jet propulsion system. It sends a jet of water. Okay, and top speed it can reach is how much? 25 knots. Okay, so roughly 50 kilometers, slightly less than 50 kilometers, you can imagine, because 1 knot equal to 1.8 kilometer per hour. Okay, so that is the maximum speed it can reach. So these are some of the indigenous weapons and capabilities. Now coming to the name, what is the name given to the ship? Anj Deep. Deep means basically it is Dweep, and Dweep refer to island. Okay, so from Dweep comes Deep. So named after which island? The island itself is called as Anjdeep near Goa. If you look at the map here, this is Goa, this is Karnataka, and here you can see. So this is the island called as Anjdeep Island. So named after it. In which sea it is located? So obviously because near Goa, you can say it is located in the Arabian Sea region. Historically, if you look at this island, you know Vasco da Gama, when he came to India from which country? Vasco da Gama was from which country? Portugal. Okay, so Portuguese sailor. So Vasco da Gama, when he came to India in 1498, it is believed that he first docked his ship here. Okay, stayed there, and then after gradually he moved like this. Okay, so claim by Vasco da Gama, symbolic of India's maritime history also. Okay, because it is like this, and strategic depth as well. So Karwar Bay also you have Karnataka there. That's the Anjdeep. In the Indian Navy, you have this tradition that vessels are named after physical features. Physical features and also this physical feature means mountains, for example, hills can be there. Like Shivalik class vessels we have discussed. These are basically your frigate, Shivalik class frigate. So all the ships in the Shivalik class frigate is named after Shivalik, Himgiri, Udayagiri, like this. Similarly, here you can see all the ships are named after what? Island. Androth I told you. Androth is name of island. Okay, so similarly here Anjdeep, name of the island is it. So physical features are taken to name ships in Navy, and you have the warrior, sometimes they also are using, but not that much. In the case of other navies, they compare US Navy ships are named after persons, personalities, famous personalities. It can be past presidents or some leaders or some admiral in the Navy, Army and all that, right? So that we did not do here as such. Third is National Counter-Terrorism Policy and Strategy. It has been unveiled by the Ministry of Home Affairs. What is this terrorism policy called as? Counter-terrorism policy, referred as Prahar. Okay, so for the first time Indian government has come up with a dedicated counter-terrorism policy and strategy and has referred as Prahar. It is similar to what they have done in case of Naxal, anti-Naxal or counter-Naxal strategy. I have discussed in class. What is this doctrine called as? Samadhan doctrine. So counter-Naxal strategy. Each of the letter means something. Similarly, here also what will happen? Prahar, each of the letter explains what basically government thinks, how to counter terrorism and all that. So that's what we have to look here. Now obviously internal security issue, which ministry will be involved? Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay, counter terrorism. Shift from reactive to proactive. That is the first difference. Earlier government said that our policy is of what nature? Reactive. Reactive means when attack happens, then we react, or when some threat materializes, then we react, we start to do a lot of things and all that. Now we have to shift our focus to what? Proactive, because threats are all time there. Okay, only when they materialize, we see the destruction and damage. So that's why if we are proactive, what is the benefit we will get? Before threats can materialize, manifest itself, we will be able to okay, eliminate it as such. Okay, so the number of terror-related deaths that we have witnessed in India, we can reduce it drastically. Intelligence-led whole of government and whole of society framework. Okay, it has the basis on which it has been built upon. That means we have to work on the basis of intelligence input, and the accountability responsibility cannot be put on the shoulders of one or two agencies only. Entire government machinery too has to be involved here. And again, the responsibility of this destroying the threat is not only this for the government, lies on the government, it also lies on who? Society. So everyone has to play their part. Okay, as a member of society, you have to be very what you can say, cautious, careful, aware. If you see something, think some kind of threat might be there, okay, you can go and inform the local police stations and all that, right? So I think few days back in Bangalore also they have launched this program. I don't remember the name of the program, but policemen, they are coming to the doors, okay, and they are asking that in your area, have you seen any suspicious activities? Have you seen movement of any suspicious person who you have never seen before in this area? Okay, so if you come across something, they are giving phone numbers also. Okay, you can call them and tell them about this. So that is the overall, okay, we can say the part of the same framework, similar framework. Focus on prevention, swift response, de-radicalization, as well as global cooperation. Okay, so these are some words they use, okay, to explain how important is the policy. So now coming to the core pillars, this is what we have to remember from exam perspective. What does Prahar stand for? Okay, very, very important. Right. Now see, if they come up with such doctrines, as an aspirant, it is easier for you, because then if you forget everything, at least if you remember what do they stand for, you can frame any answer if the question is about terrorism or counter-terrorism. Like if suppose question is asked about steps taken by government to tackle Naxalism, suppose you forget everything, at least you remember Samadhan. You remember what does each letter stand for. Okay, you can frame good answers about 150 words, you can easily write upon it itself. Okay, so whenever you come across such kind of terms, make sure that you prepare it in a better manner. So P, first is, what did it stand for? Prevention of terror attacks as such, right? So prevention of terror attack, that means it is part which policy? Proactive policy itself. We are proactive in nature. R is obviously we have to response. A is aggregating internal capacities. That means we have to bring all the internal capabilities together. We have to aggregate them, join them together. H is obviously we are fighting against terrorism, but we cannot forget human rights. So we have to have a balance between adhering to the rule of law and also balancing with the human rights, so that we are not violating it. Okay, we are working within the framework of constitutions. Okay, we are respecting the rights and freedom given by constitution to the people of India. So that is the objective of H. A, attenuating radicalization. Okay, recently I think a video went viral where DSP is giving direction to the local police station that if anyone record any press means what you can say, journalist, if they make video inside the police station, it is illegal. Okay, immediately arrest them, right? And then it became viral because police station is a public place. Okay, journalists are allowed by constitution to make video there. So such a direction is what? Completely unconstitutional. So video went viral, then SSP, the higher officer, has to come and say that no, there were some mistakes in communication. It is not for the journalist, it is for some people, okay, some random people who will come and make video, right? So basically you understand. So it is what? Human rights. Okay, so that is what you have to keep in mind. So A, aligning international efforts are what we have to focus upon. If suppose terrorist attack has already occurred, okay, because obviously we cannot 100% prevent attacks. So after attack, what we have to focus upon? Recover. And when we recover, we have to be more stronger than before. That means we have to build our resiliency, right? So that is the overall the framework of Prahar. So each of these also if we discuss briefly. The first part is about prevention. Prevention, how will we prevent? Obviously, if we have proper intelligence infrastructure. So there are a lot of steps have been taken, like intelligence sharing via MSc and JTFI. This we have discussed in class. Multi-agency center, I told you. It passes on intelligence between a state government and central government, working under the overall framework of which institution? Intelligence Bureau. Joint Task Force of Intelligence. Okay, that is the organizations. JTFI. Joint Task Force Intelligence under IB. Okay, focus is on disrupting terror funding and OGW networks, such counter misuse of internet. So a lot of things you can read by themselves, not very important. So prevention is the core area. How will you respond? Who will be the first responder? If a terror attack has taken place, is unfolding, is in continuity, who is generally the first responder? Local police. Okay, so clear outline should be there. What is their roles and responsibilities? How they have to act? Okay, and if it is of large scale, who they have to take support of? So if local police is not able to control the situation, they can ask for who? Central Armed Police Forces. If it is of a grave nature, threat is of grave nature, in that case, who can be called upon? You have discussed the security forces and their mandate. There I told you, National Security Guard has been designed as a elite force, which is responsible for counter-terror operation and also have a specialization in rescuing the hostages, okay, if they have been captured by the terrorists as such. So NSG can be called upon. So that is the way how we can respond. Aggregating capacities, similarly, standardization across the state. What we have to focus upon today? Today we are living in the era of technology and all that. So obviously we have to build our capacity in this area. And BPRD. What is BPRD? In every state you have BPRD, that is Bureau of Police Research and Development. Their job is to focus on which areas? How to make police more efficient, okay, more capable. How they will do it? If you are building more tech, modern warfare, you are changing the equipment means weapons and all that, okay, based on the evolution. The CAPF energy training is required. The legal backbone, I told you, under what framework it will work? Main framework is Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. Okay, so that we already have discussed in class also. So UAPA. Then we have why we have lone wolf attack. Okay, one of the major threats that many countries, including India, faces is something which we call as lone wolf attack as such. What is lone wolf attack? Terrorist is not coming from somewhere other country. It is the citizen of India who has become radicalized and he is willing to carry out attack. Like recently we have seen the Red Fort. Near Red Fort bomb blast occurred. So bomb blast was carried out by who? Citizen of India itself. So that means they are fully radicalized. So if you are able to de-radicalize them before they have carried out attack, you will be able to save a lot of lives. That's why due focus or emphasis is given on de-radicalization as well. How you can de-radicalize individual? Police cannot go and in each houses and try to ask and try to decipher whether the person is radical or not radical, right? There has to be involvement of who? If some person is becoming radicalized, okay, or becoming radical, who will know about it first? Family members, friends, okay, local society and all that. Okay, earlier person was coming to their parties and all that. Okay, now suddenly he has stopped coming. Okay, he has begun to put some post which can be very extremist in nature as such, right? So that can be informed by the communities. They can work with the coordination of NGOs and all that. There has to be graded response also. What is a graded response? Maharashtra became the first state actually in India which has brought in de-radicalization program. Okay, and you have a specific officers who are overseeing this program. So they, whenever any news comes where a person might be radicalized in nature, they go try to interfere. Okay, try to again use rehabilitation measure. Okay, and if it's seen that person is not willing to deviate from the path, in that case what you have to do? Enforcement. That means he can be taken in preventive custody and all that, right? So that's the thing. Prevent prison radicalization also is one of the thing, because in prison also a normal criminal, someone who has committed some this not terrorist related crime, terror related crimes, if he is coming in contact with a person who is of extremist ideology, it is quite possible after coming out of prison he can be involved in terror attacks. So we have to monitor continuously prison as well. Okay, inside we have to prevent radicalization. That is the objective. Plus global cooperation definitely is required. In most of cases, what terrorists do, if they are successfully carrying out attack, the first objective is to flee the country, right? So when you are fleeing the country, if you are living in some other countries, we need to have proper, which kind of treaty? Extradition treaty. Okay, so someone who has committed terror act in India, if he is currently living in Singapore or Thailand, we can have joint framework extradition treaty with these countries and we can bring them back to face the justice. That's the global cooperation. Okay, emerging threats. What are the emerging threats, terror threats that has propelled us to come up with this kind of policies? The biggest threat we face in the nation is which kind of terrorism? State sponsored. What does it mean? Right, so Pakistan sponsored terrorism. Okay, but we are using diplomatic language, so we are not directly many time. We otherwise if you write here Pak sponsored terrorism, okay, so it will be slightly difficult. So we use a state sponsored terrorism, but indirectly everyone understand that we are referring to Pakistan as such. Drone and robotics misuse that is being carried out, because drone nowadays government has made it more stricter. Okay, earlier anyone could buy drone, anyone could fly it anywhere. So especially in the sensitive areas, defense structures where you have, if you are flying a drone, you can get the pictures, photographs, and then you can pass it on to enemy country as such. So many such kind of these cases we have seen before. Plus financing of all these operations are largely being done these days by dark web, okay, crypto financing and all that. So the threat has evolved, okay, as compared to last decade. In the last 10 years, lot of evolution we have seen. That's why we have to bring in the policy which can meet the current demand. So we have brought the policy. What are the challenges we might face? The biggest challenge is friction with states. Okay, because many times when central government take extreme measures, when they start using its central agencies, what do state claims, especially if they are of opposition parties? If suppose at center and state you have same party, you will not have a lot of friction. But if you have central government of different party, state government of different party, they start claiming that center is encroaching upon the state's domain. Okay, law and order, all these are state subject, policing is state subject. So that can be the first challenge government of India will have to face. Second, we have defined the role of local police, right? Because first responder is always a state police. But the problem is that they do have problem in solving the general crimes itself, okay, in normal investigation of cases itself. How are you expecting them to solve terror related cases and this act there if there is a large capacity gap? So before enforcing, we have to focus on what? Increasing the capability of state police, fill the gaps whatever you have here. Third is civil liberty concerns. That is why earlier lot of strict measures were taken to act. Okay, nowadays it is no longer operational, but were brought in earlier by government. One is called as TADA Act, other is called as POTA Act, Prevention of Terrorism Act, and then you have Terrorism and something Act. The problem was that this act could take anyone in custody. Under this act, police can take anyone in custody on the ground of suspicion, can keep them for 3 to 4 weeks in police custody itself, can carry out torture and other kind of things, first degree, we can say extraction information and all that. But Supreme Court struck it down. Why? Because it stated it is against the rights that is granted to Indian citizens on the constitution as such. It violates civil liberty. So if you go very take very coercive or excessive measure under this provisions, again issue can rise here as such. Plus obviously we have discussed about that we need to have cooperation with other countries so that we can extradite the criminals and terrorists. But it is your wish, right? Other countries might not be willing to agree to it, right? So that is also problem. Internationally, how are we able to develop this joint cooperation? That is a big challenge. We have faced earlier also and face now also. So these are some of the things. Way forward and conclusion, simply what we can write: better intelligence coordination, upgrade states counter-terrorism units, same thing. AI and big data for predictive detention, crypto ICT monitoring reforms we need to have, and dedicated terror prosecution cadre. If anyone is being prosecuted under the charges of terrorism, their case should not go through the normal judiciary, okay, but otherwise it will take a lot of time. So this is very sensitive crime, or we can say very high intensity crime. We should have a dedicated what? Prosecution cadre, so they can prosecute, okay, and put the person in jail or whatever actions need to be taken. Then the next is international organization called as IEA, International Energy Agency. So why International Energy Agency is in news? Because India has requested to become member of IEA. Okay, that's why it is news. India recently has requested IEA that it want to become a full-time member of this organization, and IEA also has what? Welcomed it. Okay, welcome step for the India's request. Current status wise, India is a member, but not a full-time member. Which kind of member? Associate member. In 2017, India was granted the status of associate membership. Associate member means India can participate in the meetings, procedures that this organization is conducting. It does not, however, have voting right. that is only to the full-time members. So if India become full-time member, what it will have? Voting right. Okay, that's why we are trying to do it. Major step toward integration, okay, global energy governance. Challenges, what is the challenge? Obviously, we have put our request, but the general policy of IAS says that which country are eligible for full membership? Countries which are part of OECD. Is India part of OECD? No. Okay, OECD means what is OECD? Related to oil export. Okay, something you have here. Organization of this. I'm forgetting the term. Okay, but OECD, India is not member of OECD. This is countries which largely produces oil, like Saudi Arabia. You have. Okay, you have what else? For example, Venezuela and all these countries are there. Right? OPEC. Right. So OECD is basically developed countries are member of this, or European Union and all that. India is not a member of OECD. That's why whether it will become a full member or not, it still remains to be seen. If they make some exception, then we can become the member as such. As far as this particular organization is concerned, when was it established? 1974. 1974 by 17 OECD countries, formed after 1974 oil crisis. Okay, Arab oil embargo we have seen, okay, during the Iraq-Iran war. Okay, no, during the Iran, right. So that time we have the Arab oil embargo. So that's when IEA was established. What is the main function or mandate of the IEA? Clear in the name itself. What is the agency called? International Energy Agency. That means its mandate is to ensure what? Stable oil supply and manage energy emergency. Like recently, right now, recently means what is the major threat we are facing? Due to the current war, we know that Iran has closed which region? Strait of Hormuz. So 20-30% of oil and gas, they passes through Strait of Hormuz. So what we can expect in the coming future? Instability. Okay, we'll face disruption in the oil supply and all that. So there the role of IEA will be coming to picture. So they will ensure members, whoever are members of IEA, they as per the rule must maintain what? 90 days of strategic oil reserve. Okay, like for example, a country which is dependent upon import, suppose due to supply disruption they are not getting any raw material. It does not mean they have to shut down everything. For 3 months, 90 days means almost 3 months, they have enough oil that they can carry out the operation. And why 90 days? Because it is believed that by looking at the history, no disruption lasts more than 3 months as such. Okay, after every 1 month or maximum 2 months, we have been able to find some solution. Okay, we have been able to divert our this raw material also, or this we have find some alternative this producers as well. Currently, how many members you have? 32. Colombia has this is about to become the 33rd member. So International Energy Agency total 32 members. Okay. Colombia is going to be 33. If India becomes, then maybe 34. Now we know that at a global scale, we are focused upon changing our method of energy production. How we are changing it? We are focusing more on renewable. Okay, so that is what IEA also focuses upon. Why? Because of the climate change, decarbonization. So all these are the steps that IEA also has taken. Critical mineral security is something that we are working out these days. Right. So 2015 associate member category created, and that is why 2017 which countries were added as associate member? 13 countries are put under associate members here. Which country? India, China, Brazil, all of these countries. Then associate participant, same I told you. They have the right to participate in meeting. But what do they lack? The right to cast their vote as such. So if India become member, what is the benefit it will have? It will be able to have a serious voice in the energy supply as such. Now, what is the ground on basis of which India has requested to grant membership? We know that at a global scale, India has emerged as the third largest energy consumer in the world. Okay, so imagine an agency that talks about energy supply and it does not include third largest consumer. So it does not make any sense. That is the first thing. Second, in the next 30 years, the highest amount of energy demand is expected to come from which country? India. So not only India is third largest consumer today, but even in the future it is an important player, because rapid rise in energy demand we are expected to see because of what factor? Economic growth and development as such. And IEA plus associate represent also how much percentage of global energy demand? 80% of global energy demand. That is coming from these countries itself. Full membership would strengthen global energy coordination as well. Okay. Now, from prelims perspective, sometimes they keep asking the reports. What are the reports that is published by International Energy Agency? World Energy Outlook, first one. World Energy Investment Report, second one. And Global Energy Review. Okay, that is the third one. So, 3 reports, very, very important from prelims perspective. World Energy Outlook, World Energy Investment Report, and Global Energy Review. Right, that's the IA. OECD, I think, is Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Okay, I think. So check it once. With reference to exercise Dharma Garjan, a few questions. If you look, Dharma Garjan, consider the following statement. What is the correct statement? What is the correct option? A, 1 and 3. It is conducted between who? Indian Army and Japanese Armed Self-Defense Forces. With reference to IEA, consider the following statement. Established after the 1974 crisis, full membership is open to OECD countries. B, simple. Which of the following is correct? No, 1 and 2, right? A, because all associate member, full members only have voting rights. Associate member as India, like India, they have only which right? Participating right. Then with reference to India's Prahar strategy, consider the following statement. Simple, 1 and 2. Unlawful activities, it is not replacing it. It will work within the framework of UAPA. Okay, so you can say it will implement the provisions of UAPA also to some extent. So 1 and 2. Then about El Nino and La Nina. What is the correct option? All the 3. C. Okay, 1, 2 and 3. El Nino is what? Causing warming. La Nina causes what? Cooling. So it will suppress global warming to some extent. And energy imbalance refer to what? Difference between the incoming solar radiation and outgoing. That is the. So that's all for this.